The sun hung high in the sky, casting warm rays over a bustling marketplace filled with vibrant colors and lively sounds. Stalls lined the dirt paths, where merchants shouted out their wares. A sweet scent of baked goods mixed with the earthy aroma of fresh produce wafted through the air. It was a typical market day, full of excitement and chatter, as townsfolk moved from stand to stand, searching for treasures and essentials alike. But today was different. A special auction drew a crowd that buzzed with anticipation. People gathered around a raised platform at the center of the market square, their eyes wide with curiosity as they whispered among themselves. The notice had promised something unusual, items that were more than mere goods, including human lives that could be bought or sold. It was a practice that stirred various emotions. Some felt intrigue, others discomfort, but all were entranced by what was to come. As the auctioneer stepped up to the platform, his voice boomed over the crowd, cutting through the air like a knife. "Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Today we offer you an opportunity unlike any other." His voice dripped with charisma as he gestured dramatically toward the items for sale. "Prepare yourselves for rare finds, an assortment you won't want to miss." The crowd murmured in response, eyes darting about in eager anticipation. Among them stood a tall farmer named Henry, his heart heavy yet hopeful. He had come to the market seeking new beginnings after facing his own losses, a lonely life following tragic events that had robbed him of joy. He longed for companionship and warmth amidst the chill of solitude. Henry watched as some peculiar objects were brought forth for bidding, old tools, forgotten trinkets from distant lands, and even an exquisite silk gown that sparkled under the sunlight. Each time something was offered up, bids flew from all corners of the square. But soon enough came the moment that would alter Henry's fate forever. "Next," said the auctioneer dramatically, "we have something truly special." He raised his hand as two figures emerged from behind a curtain. Standing there were a pregnant widow and her small orphan child. The woman looked weary yet resolute, her eyes held stories of sorrow and strength that captivated those who looked upon her. A hush fell over the crowd as they took in her fragile form cradling her belly while holding tightly to her child's hand. The orphan looked up at her with wide eyes filled with innocence yet tinged with fear. They stood together on that platform, vulnerable yet proud. Henry felt a tightness in his chest as emotions welled within him, sympathy mixed with longing engulfed him like a wave crashing onto shore. He noticed how many in the crowd regarded them not just as people but as curiosities to gossip about, how easily they could forget they were lives being put on display. The auctioneer began calling for bids again, but Henry barely heard him. His mind raced with thoughts about what it meant to buy them, to rescue them from their uncertain future while perhaps finding a sense of belonging himself. The atmosphere thickened with tension as voices rang out around him, bidding spiraling higher and higher. In this moment of raw humanity laid an unexpected choice before Henry, a chance to make not just an impactful purchase but perhaps change not only their lives but his own forever. Would he dare? Would he step forward? Henry stood at the edge of the crowd, feeling both out of place and completely absorbed in the scene before him. As a farmer, he was used to the solitude of wide-open fields and the rhythmic sounds of nature. However, lately, that solitude had grown heavy. Life on the farm had become a monotonous cycle of planting and harvesting, devoid of laughter or companionship. The memories of happier times lingered like shadows in his mind, reminding him of what he had lost. Just a few years prior, Henry was not alone. He had shared his life with a loving wife who brought warmth and joy into their modest home. They had dreams together, plans for children, adventures in distant lands, and moments spent under the stars. But a sudden illness had stolen her away, leaving Henry with an ache that never fully faded. Each day since had been a struggle against loneliness, as he worked the fields with only the wind and the rustle of leaves to keep him company. With every sunset, Henry felt more isolated. The once thrilling idea of running the family farm turned into a heavy burden. Friends and neighbors often offered their condolences, but their well-meaning chatter felt like nails in his heart. He knew they cared, yet he felt trapped in a world where happiness seemed just beyond reach. That's why he had come to the market today, hoping against hope for something different, something that could fill the holes in his heart. When he heard whispers of an auction featuring not just items but people seeking new lives, something stirred within him. Could he make a choice that would bring warmth back into his home? Could he rescue someone else from their plight while finding rescue for himself? As he surveyed the crowd gathered around the auction block, Henry realized that many people were stifled by their own lives, caught up in gossip or eager to acquire the next shiny object. Yet there was an undeniable energy pulsing through them all, a sense of possibility. Perhaps they all yearned for connection as much as he did. When the widow and her child were revealed on stage, something inside Henry shifted profoundly. He felt an instant connection to them. Their struggle mirrored his own in ways he couldn't ignore. The sight of the woman cradling her belly while holding her child's hand tugged at a part of him he thought was lost forever. He recognized their vulnerability. It reflected his own fear of being alone. Henry envisioned what it might be like to share meals around a warm table again, or to hear laughter echoing through his empty rooms. He imagined teaching the child how to plant seeds in the garden or sharing stories by the fireplace at night. The idea bloomed in his heart, a dream that blossomed despite the weight of loss he carried. In that moment, Henry understood that attending this auction wasn't just about buying a widow and her child, it was about taking a step toward healing and finding new purpose. He felt compelled to act, to create a new life filled with love and meaning once more. The journey ahead would be uncertain, but perhaps this was just the beginning he had been waiting for, the fresh start that could change everything for both him and those vulnerable souls on stage. As the auctioneer called for attention, a hush fell over the crowd, and all eyes turned toward the platform. Standing there was a pregnant widow, her figure both fragile and dignified as she held her small orphan child close. The sunlight cast a soft glow around them, accentuating the curves of her belly while shadowing her face with a hint of melancholy. The widow's hair fell loosely around her shoulders, slightly windswept yet unkempt, suggesting a life filled with struggles rather than carelessness. Her clothing was simple, a worn dress that hugged her slim form but was frayed at the edges. Despite its humble appearance, it hinted at warmth and tenderness crafted from love. Though her features were marked by weariness and sorrow, there was a strength in her sad eyes that captivated the crowd. She stood tall on that auction block, but her posture told a different story, one of resilience with an undercurrent of vulnerability. She cradled her child protectively to her side. The little boy looked up at her with innocent eyes, searching for reassurance in a chaotic world around them. The way she held him tight against her hip revealed both love and desperation. He was her anchor in this uncertain moment. As murmurs erupted within the assembly, Henry felt a lump rise in his throat. The sight of them pulled at his heartstrings more than he could have anticipated. The crowd before them was restless, some offered sympathetic glances while others simply gawked, momentarily forgetting their own lives in curiosity about this unexpected spectacle. In those moments of silence mingled with whispers, Henry caught glimpses of shared sorrow reflected among the attendees. He could sense that many were drawn into her story through their empathy and compassion. They saw not just an auction item but fellow humans facing unfathomable circumstances. While some in the crowd exchanged speculative remarks about how lucky or unlucky they would be to acquire such a burden or treasure, Henry found himself fascinated by the widow's quiet strength rather than considering any assumptions made by others. There was something undeniably powerful in how she remained composed despite being on display for all to judge and buy. Every gaze seemed to search for signs of despair, yet amidst it all, what struck Henry most was the flicker of hope he could see in her eyes whenever she glanced down at her child, a spark that fiercely ignited ambitions long thought extinguished within him. It stirred memories of his own beloved wife, her laughter echoing like music through their home before everything had changed. As bids began to arise from different corners of the square, tapping into hushed intrigue about who might win them next offered an atmosphere thick with tension alongside palpable sadness for what they both endured. To find comfort from each other's presence seemed imperceptibly valuable now, yet they were treated like numbers designed for exchange. In that powerful moment on stage where vulnerability met strength, Henry knew he must act, instead of remaining just an audience member witnessing their plight unfold. The widow's spirit instilled courage within him. Amidst so many strangers' judgmental gazes lay intertwined paths that could potentially lead them all toward healing and connection. Would he dare to take the plunge? Would he reach out to save not just them but his own heart? The auctioneer raised his gavel, ready to begin the bidding on the pregnant widow and her orphan child. Henry felt his heart race as the atmosphere around him thickened with anticipation. The whispers of the crowd faded into a dull roar in his ears as he focused intently on the sight before him. The widow's eyes flickered nervously, contrasting with her brave facade, while her child clung to her side, completely unaware of the storm brewing around them. "Do I really want to do this?" Henry thought, battling with a maelstrom of emotion swirling in his chest. Part of him wanted to step forward and claim them, a desire warming his heart against the chill of uncertainty. But another part was gripped by fear. What would it mean to take someone else's burden? What if he couldn't provide for them? The auctioneer's voice rang clear in the crisp air, cutting through his thoughts like a whistle. "Here we have a unique opportunity for you all, an item of not just value but meaning. I present to you this widow and her lovely child, seeking a new home." With a sharp clap of his hands, he summoned the first bids. $10, shouted a voice from the back, drawing some laughter from others who began murmuring their opinions on whether they were worth such a price. 20, called out someone else nearby, and Henry felt a pull deep within him. The value placed on these lives felt so small compared to what he imagined they could offer in return, a family built on love and camaraderie. As the bids climbed higher, the tension in the air palpable, Henry locked gazes with the widow for a fleeting moment. Her expression transformed from apprehension to a glimmer of hope as though she sensed his inner struggle. It was just enough to rekindle that flicker inside him. 50. He heard himself call out, surprising even himself as he shot his hand into the air. Warmth rushed through him as something shifted. It was as if declaring that number had cast aside shadows he had carried for too long. 60. 60, someone countered almost immediately, snapping him back into reality. The urgency of the situation surged like a whirlpool around him. Did he dare continue? What if this became an obsession? But then he glanced back at the widow, the corners of her mouth quirked slightly upward, a softness in her gaze chipping away at his indecision. With every increase in bid came waves of doubt, but also resolve. 70, he'd call with growing fervor each time, feeling less like an outsider and more like a man reclaiming purpose that had dimmed ever since losing his wife. The auctioneer continued to draw in bids, savoring the coaxing performance as excitement rippled through the crowd. The bidding shifted rapidly, 80. 85. Yet Henry held firm, renewed hope intertwined with furious determination surged through him. This was his moment. Going once. Going twice. The auctioneer's voice rang clear as time slowed down, every heartbeat pounding in Henry's ears until there was nothing left but silence after he called out, 100. Gasps fluttered throughout the gathering, a few heads turned incredulously his way as anticipation electrified those nearby. As the auctioneer called out for final confirmation and pounds struck against wood once more, Henry realized he'd crossed an invisible line into unknown territory. Sealing this deal meant not just saving 2 lives, it was also drawing him back from despair into possibility again. With a final thud of the gavel, it was done. The crowd erupted into surprised murmurs, yet all he felt was an overwhelming mixture of relief and exhilaration. At last, they were his. Now began a journey that promised to reshape everything he knew. A chance started with a single choice in that beautiful disaster known as life. As Henry drove the horse-drawn cart down the winding dirt road toward his farm, the atmosphere in the wagon felt heavy with a mixture of uncertainty and hope. The pregnant widow sat beside him, holding her child close, both of them unsure of what lay ahead. The day was bright, but clouds hovered on the horizon, as if nature itself mirrored their shared apprehension. Sitting slightly apart from one another, an awkward silence fell over them. Henry stole glances at the widow from time to time, hoping to catch her eye and offer some comfort. She met his gaze occasionally, but there was an unreadable expression in her eyes, a blend of gratitude mixed with lingering fear and uncertainty about her new life. The child fidgeted between them, peering over the edge of the wagon with innocent curiosity yet feeling the weight of his mother's unease. The road stretched ahead like a journey into uncharted territory. "I'm grateful for this chance," Henry finally broke the silence, trying to ease their tension. "I want you both to feel at home here." His voice was warm and reassuring, yet he could feel his own uncertainties bubbling beneath the surface. The widow shot him a flicker of warmth that momentarily brightened her fair features. "Thank you," she replied softly, her voice tinged with emotion. Henry could sense she was trying to mask how overwhelmed she felt, not only by their new situation but also by being thrust into a life tied to a stranger. The child looked up sharply at Henry's words. He smiled back tentatively, starting to twist around a bit in search of something more to engage with, perhaps eager for adventure or simply wanting to understand who this man was. "What's your name?" he asked boldly, eyes wide with youthful innocence. "Henry," he answered with a hint of surprise at the boy's openness. "And what about you?" "I'm Samuel," came the proud reply. "Can I help you on your farm?" "I want to be brave." A small grin broke across his face, illuminating his otherwise timid demeanor. With Samuel's sudden burst of confidence, Henry felt his heart lift slightly. A soft chuckle escaped him as he turned toward Samuel and suggested warmly, "You could help me plant seeds when we get home." Samuel's face brightened as excitement spread through him like wildfire. The awkward silence around them began to dissipate like morning fog under the rising sun. In that moment, all three seemed to breathe just a little easier. Shared laughter became a bridge between estranged lives. As they continued down the dirt road leading to what was now their home too, the farmhouse perched amidst sprawling fields, intriguing questions bubbled forth from Samuel's lips. "Do you have animals?" "Can we have chickens?" "I love chickens." The laughter that mingled in that moment nudged away some fears as they discussed future plans for gardening and caring for animals along this shared journey ahead. Though challenges lay ahead, farming wasn't easy. They seemed less daunting when faced together. As they neared the homestead, with its welcoming porch and fields stretching toward infinity, Henry could already see visions woven through countless days yet to come, laughter echoing from inside their home once again, gardening tools digging deeply into rich soil, hearts healing in unison amidst fresh blooms blossoming under sincere care. Still unsure of how everything would unfold and aware there would be barriers still looming between them all, it felt right for Henry at that moment, a step forward taken closer toward forging bonds among those whom fate had tangled together at that auction day. They arrived at last, dust settled around them as they rolled up toward the barn. It marked just the first chapter for a future written anew, a family forming not just out of necessity but out of hope, seeking light amidst life's passages again. The days that followed Henry's decision to bring the widow and her orphan child home were filled with both challenges and small victories as they adjusted to their new life together. Settling into the farmhouse was no simple task. It required patience, understanding, and a little bit of trial and error. At first, the widow, whose name was Martha, kept to herself more than Henry had hoped. She spent time organizing their modest belongings in one corner of the house, often casting sidelong glances out the window as if still unsure about this new life. Samuel, on the other hand, was full of curiosity about every inch of his new surroundings. He eagerly explored the farm, asking questions about each animal he encountered, chickens pecking at the ground, cows lazily munching grass, and chimed in with suggestions on what chores they could tackle together. "Can I help you feed the chickens today?" he asked one morning, excitement shimmering in his eyes as he bounced on his heels. Henry smiled warmly at Samuel's enthusiasm. "Of course. Let's see how many grains we have left." This simple task became a joyful ritual for them both. Each time Henry handed Samuel a handful of feed, he witnessed a spark of independence ignite within the boy. However, challenges began to unfold as well. Martha struggled with her pregnancy while trying to adapt to farm life. The physical labor was exhausting for her as she joined Henry and Samuel in small tasks around the homestead. There were moments when she felt overwhelmed by fatigue and doubt, wondering if she could truly contribute anything meaningful to this new family dynamic. One afternoon, after a particularly long day of chopping wood and caring for the animals under the hot sun, Martha sank onto a stool outside the barn with a sigh. Samuel noticed her distress and instinctively walked over to her side. "Are you okay, Mama?" His small hand rested gently on her shoulder. With a soft smile that belied her weariness, Martha nodded but added quietly, "It's just hard sometimes." Unaware of just how much weight she carried inside her heart, Samuel replied confidently, "We can do it together." "You're strong." His innocent belief in her strength washed over her like sunshine breaking through clouds. As time went on, Henry began noticing gradual changes in Martha too, her hesitance transforming into determination as she took pride in learning how to bake bread or plant seeds alongside him. One day she surprised him with freshly baked loaves that filled their home with warmth and delicious scents. It became clear that baking brought joy not only to Martha but also helped forge connections within their makeshift family. Victory appeared unexpected, each achievement sparked laughter that replaced tension, be it tangled yarn while mending clothes or crowds of laughing chickens chasing after their feet during feeding time. The tension of uncertainty eased gradually as their days together built familiarity, their shared laughter echoed across fields where once only silence lingered. While obstacles still lurked ahead, adapting fully to farm routines was no simple feat. The bond forming between them felt tangible, like roots digging deeper into rich soil. Support blossomed from their individual strengths, together they tended to responsibilities large and small that made up life on the farm, a gathering momentum toward greater resilience. Each sunset marked not just an end but another small step towards a shared dream, the vision Henry had cherished since first seeing Martha and Samuel at that auction taking shape before his eyes, amid laughter echoing through rooms once empty. As seasons turned from spring blossoms into summer harvests ahead, a promise began unfurling in every interaction. They were creating something beautiful, a family born from hope seeking light where darkness once ruled all hearts separately. As the weeks progressed on the farm, a warm sense of camaraderie blossomed between Henry, Martha, and Samuel. The initial uncertainties they faced slowly transformed into understanding, laughter, and shared moments that bonded them closer together. The routine of farm life began to weave their individual threads into a tapestry of family. One sunny afternoon, Henry and Samuel found themselves working side by side, planting rows of seeds in the freshly turned earth. "If we plant them just right, we'll have the biggest carrots in town," Samuel exclaimed, enthusiasm radiating from his small frame as he carefully pressed the seeds into the damp soil. "You'll be our official carrot grower," Henry responded with an encouraging smile, his heart swelling at the boy's spirit. Samuel giggled, marveling at his newfound role, while Henry felt a warmth spreading through him. Laughter was becoming a common language among them. Meanwhile, Martha would often bring cold lemonade out to Henry and Samuel during their outdoor tasks. Each time she did, her smiles grew more genuine, no longer shadowed by uncertainty. Watching her son bond with Henry brought her joy. One day, when she handed them their drinks, Samuel grinned up at her and declared, "Mama makes the best lemonade." Henry chimed in with a tease, "I don't know about that, I think my homemade tea is better." Laughter spilled over as both Martha and Samuel playfully argued against him. It was a small but significant moment that showed how their comforts were evolving into shared memories. As evening settled in, the trio would gather around the kitchen table under flickering candlelight. With each meal prepared by Martha, the simple, hearty dishes originating from her mother's recipes, the atmosphere shifted closer to family life. They shared stories of their pasts, hopes for tomorrow, and endless dreams around that table. Henry found joy in Martha's hints of humor while she cooked and in watching Samuel light up when telling tales of imaginary adventures. One particular night became memorable after a dinner filled with laughter when Martha shared stories from her childhood. She recounted how she had once climbed a tall tree to rescue a kitten, the colors of her tales dancing in their minds as they hung around her every word. Henry could feel the warmth growing between them. It was as if they were defining not just a household but a family bound through laughter and compassion. "Oh, I have an idea," Samuel exclaimed one evening after finishing his homework. "What if we have a family picnic out by the big oak tree tomorrow?" His blue eyes sparkled with excitement as he envisioned a day filled with fun and adventure. "That's a wonderful idea," Martha agreed enthusiastically, her spirit visibly lifting at the word family, while Henry nodded proudly. The next day, they packed a basket full of sandwiches and sweet treats, turning a simple excursion into a joyous event. As they sat beneath the expansive branches of the oak tree, sunlight filtered through the leaves creating soft patterns on the grass. They shared laughter, jokes, and stories until their bellies hurt from both food and amusement. In those peaceful moments, they discovered the beauty of being together, the significance of trust amidst shared vulnerability that emerged through small acts of kindness and love. Each gesture pulled down walls woven with doubt. It became increasingly clear that they were building something beautiful together. In those quiet hours spent in laughter and joy under that oak tree, Martha learned to trust again in heart and partnership. Henry soothed his long-held grief with welcomed companionship, while Samuel thrived surrounded by nurturing warmth. The making of cherished memories labeled them family anew. As they returned home hand in hand under a blanket of stars enveloping the night sky, there was no doubt left. They had begun to carve out a space for themselves, not merely residents under one roof but a family learning to embrace the gift that friendship had become in their lives. As time passed on the farm, Samuel's innocent perspective began to illuminate Henry's world in ways he had never anticipated. The child's natural curiosity and zest for life brought a refreshing energy to the homestead. Where Henry had once viewed his surroundings solely as tasks to be managed and responsibilities to uphold, he now found joy in seeing the world through Samuel's eyes. One morning, as they tended to the garden together, Samuel suddenly stopped, his attention caught by a butterfly flitting through the air. "Look, Henry! It's so pretty," he exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. Henry turned to see the delicate creature dancing around the flowers and felt a smile crack across his face. In that moment, he recognized how everything could come alive with just a touch of appreciation. He had been so entrenched in his own grief that he had forgotten how to marvel at simple things. "Let's see if it lands on us," Samuel suggested enthusiastically, bouncing on his feet as he crouched low and extended his hands. Henry couldn't help but join in the fun, kneeling beside him and mimicking Samuel's actions. Together they watched in awe as the butterfly eventually settled on one of the nearby blooms. Laughter bubbled up between them like a soothing balm for Henry's soul, easing some of the heaviness that had weighed on him since losing his wife. Samuel's innocence did not stop at nature, he brought light into everyday chores too. One rainy afternoon, while they were preparing for planting inside the cabin, Samuel actively engaged with Martha, asking questions about how she learned to cook. "Did you really bake with your mama?" he asked with genuine interest. "Yes," Martha replied with warmth filling her heart as she recalled her childhood memories. "She taught me all her favorites." "What's your favorite dish?" Samuel queried further, an eagerness reflected in his gaze. Martha paused for a moment before answering. "I love making apple pie, it reminds me of home." Without missing a beat, Samuel suggested, "Then let's make one together." The pure excitement in his voice sparked something within Martha, a rekindled connection to joyful memories she thought lost. That day became filled with flower-covered laughter and sticky fingers as they worked together to create something delicious, all because of Samuel's vibrant enthusiasm that reminded them how food could generate shared moments of happiness. Henry observed these interactions from afar, awed by how seamlessly Samuel stitched together memories of joy through simple activities. His innate ability to remind them all of brighter days ahead pushed back against shadows from their pasts. It inspired Henry too. Not only did life continue after heartache, but it could also unveil profound moments woven with joy anew. One quiet evening after dinner underneath twinkling stars scattered across the night sky, Henry sat outside with Samuel. They snuggled together on a blanket as if enveloped by magic itself. "What do you want most in life when you grow up?" Samuel asked with a seriousness beyond his years. Henry took a moment before answering. "I want to make sure no one feels alone ever again," he admitted softly. His heart was heavy with authenticity, a truth unveiled by this child who believed they could conquer any challenges ahead together. "Then I will help you," Samuel exclaimed confidently as though it was a mission forged between them in that starry embrace. In those exchanged words rested an understanding, not simply between father and son but also among bonded hearts seeking hope amidst uncertainty, encapsulated through layers of trust built over time spent together, forming connections heart-deep beyond familial ties that had formed quickly yet meaningfully against life's difficulties. As healing unfurled gently over time like petals emerging from buds amidst turmoil previously forged, the orphan's vivid spirit altered Henry's outlook fundamentally as he cherished moments rediscovered amid laughter, threading pathways leading toward tomorrow filled not only with dreams but also realities, rekindling love transformed back into warmth, a family navigating their new lives knitted forevermore through resilience fostered hand in hand under starlit skies, lighting chaos into comfort. Once more. As the days turned into weeks at the farm, it became increasingly clear that Martha possessed a strength far deeper than first apparent. Despite the weariness etched on her face from the physical demands of daily chores and the toll of her pregnancy, she approached each challenge with determination that inspired Henry. Her resilience was like a beacon, illuminating the path forward for all three of them. One particularly breezy morning, as they prepared for the planting season, a storm brewed nearby. The skies darkened and heavy clouds rolled in, threatening to ruin their plans for the day. Henry felt a wave of anxiety wash over him. He knew how important this planting was for their future meals. Martha caught his worried expression and placed a comforting hand on his arm. "Henry, we can do this. Let's work quickly before the rain comes," she encouraged him with a smile that radiated hope. There was something about her unwavering optimism that pushed Henry to set aside his doubts. They moved together, gathering seeds and tools with renewed vigor, and with Samuel happily buzzing around them, helping wherever he could. In the midst of organizing their tasks, Martha took charge of keeping Samuel entertained while they worked. She began singing songs from her childhood, and soon Henry heard her melodic voice carrying through the air. He paused to watch as Samuel danced around her, laughing joyfully despite the looming storm. Witnessing Martha find joy in the simplicity of being present made Henry realize how important it was to cultivate happiness even in difficult times. That evening, after a long day's work, they sat down for dinner, a simple meal but one made richer by the laughter shared around the table. Martha told stories from her past, weaving strands of humor and warmth into every anecdote. As she spoke of her mischievous younger days, Henry was captivated not only by her tales but by the sparkle in her eyes. Those moments revealed layers of her character that were beginning to shine. She was a survivor who carried resilience from her past hardships. Yet challenges did arise more frequently than expected. One day, after returning from a trip to gather supplies in town during a particularly tough moment for Martha, her pregnancy had left her feeling drained. She found herself struggling to carry in bags full of groceries. Henry popped outside just as she staggered under the weight. "Martha? Let me help you with that," he exclaimed, rushing to her side. She offered a grateful smile but shook her head slightly, determined to manage on her own. "I can do this," she insisted with quiet strength. Henry admired that determination and gently took a bag from her grasp. "We are in this together," he reminded her softly as he carried in several bags at once. The gesture restored some balance to their dynamic. It reminded Martha that she didn't have to shoulder responsibilities alone. Leaning on one another became a natural part of their relationship as they shared the burden of both farm work and family life. It taught Henry how vital it was for him to participate actively, not just beside them physically but emotionally as well. Later that week, while tending to the garden patch they had cultivated together, Henry observed how Martha's hands moved deftly through the soil. She showed Samuel how to thin out seedlings properly, speaking patiently and with pride as he mimicked her actions. "See? It's all about giving each plant enough space to grow," she explained, smiling as Samuel nodded eagerly. In those moments, Henry could see Martha transforming not just from a widow seeking shelter but into an empowered woman, nurturing both plants and hearts alike. Each successful day on the farm pieced together foundations for trust between them, allowing all three of them, Henry included, to thrive amidst uncertainty. Martha's strength showed Henry a different way of moving through life, one filled with courage rather than fear, advocacy instead of hesitation, and helped him rediscover his own resilience through shared responsibilities and growing affection amid life's unpredictable journey together. As seasons changed outside their home under vast skies colored with possibilities, their lives blossomed into something more beautiful than any could have anticipated before coming together at that auction day, a family growing united against adversity yet thriving through love nurtured over time together under one roof built from hope reborn anew. Just as life seemed to be settling into a pleasant rhythm on the farm, challenges began to cast shadows over their newfound happiness. The harsh realities of rural life hit hard when Henry awoke one morning to find the barn door ajar and several of their chickens missing. Panic rose in his chest as he surveyed the empty coop, knowing that these losses would hurt not only their food supply but also their finances. In the days that followed, mounting expenses began to overwhelm him. Repairs were necessary for the aging barn, and Martha's pregnancy required additional medical attention. Henry's heart sank with every passing week, knowing that they were already scraping by. The fear of losing this family he had fought so hard to create gripped him tightly. One evening, after a long day of work, Henry sat at the kitchen table, staring at the bills spread out like dark clouds before him. Martha entered the room with Samuel trailing behind her, carrying a tray of warm cookies she had just baked. The sweet aroma filled the air but felt like a hollow reminder of how precarious their situation had become. "Henry? What's wrong?" Martha asked gently, noticing the tension etched across his face. He glanced up at her, fighting back feelings of inadequacy. "We're going to struggle if things don't turn around soon," he admitted quietly. "I don't know how I'll keep us fed or pay for your medical needs." Martha placed a comforting hand over his as she sat down across from him. "We've faced challenges before, we can do it again." Her voice was steady and reassuring. "Let's try looking for solutions together." Samuel chimed in eagerly, "Maybe we can sell some vegetables. We have so many growing in the garden." His innocent suggestion carried a weight of hope that momentarily lifted Henry's heavy heart. Henry smiled faintly at Samuel's idea. It was true, their garden yielded plenty enough to share with others. That could be a good start, he acknowledged, his mind racing with possibilities. In the following days, they worked together tirelessly, harvesting their produce and setting up a small stand at the roadside near their home. Samuel eagerly wrote signs decorated with colorful drawings to attract passing travelers, proudly proclaiming fresh veggies for sale. Martha joined in to help with pricing and packaging while Henry tended to queries from curious buyers. As customers began arriving, so did laughter mixed with hard work. Their little stand became more than just a source of income, it transformed into an opportunity for them to bond even further as they navigated this new venture together. Slowly but surely, money began trickling in alongside laughter and camaraderie. Yet another challenge struck when an unexpected rainstorm flooded part of their crops. After spending hours tending to what remained salvageable, despair clouded Henry's heart once more as he saw how nature had thwarted their effort. He felt defeated. What if they couldn't recover this time? Martha sensed his struggles and took his hand firmly in hers. "Look around you," she urged gently, sweeping her arms toward Samuel, who was busy gathering stray vegetables for salvage next door. "We have each other, and we have strength when we come together." Forcing himself to breathe deep amidst fraught emotions, Henry nodded slowly, her words grounded him once again. They turned toward each other more than ever, finding solace inside shared glances under starry skies or in moments spent together around late-night candlelit talks where dreams took root anew amid chaos lingering outside. This period of hardship became a turning point for all three of them, a time when relying on one another solidified their connection even further through whispered hopes and emerging resilience forged upon trusting faces standing firm amid thunderstorms both real and metaphorical alike. Through trials faced shoulder to shoulder, not as separate entities burdened by struggles but as loving partners devotedly nurturing dreams, their sense of family thrived despite uncertainties looming large once more. Rather than allowing challenges to divide them, they chose unity against adversity instead, a lesson etched deeply into hearts intertwined forevermore as seasons continued changing outside their homestead walls built new each day through hope breathed alive anew within those moments. Spent together enduring joys sprinkled among obstacles yet conquered side by side with love stronger than storms around them could ever threaten. With each passing day, the trio continued to face obstacles that life on the farm threw their way. Yet, with every challenge, they leaned on one another more, proving that their collective strength lay not just in individual efforts but in their teamwork and love for each other. One particularly difficult week began when a drought hit their region. The once lush garden began to wilt under the relentless sun, and the animals grew restless without enough water. Henry felt the weight of despair settling over him. It cast a shadow on his heart as he watched their hard work begin to fade away. However, Martha and Samuel remained resilient, turning to each other with patience and understanding. "Let's see what we can do," Martha said one evening as they gathered around the table for dinner, her voice steady despite the worry in her eyes. "We can't just wait for rain." Henry nodded, recognizing the determination in her tone. "You're right. We need to come up with a plan." Samuel's wide eyes flickered with excitement as he bounced in his chair. "What if we dig a trench? We can collect water from the well and use it to help," Samuel suggested eagerly. "That's a great idea," Martha praised. "Let's work together tomorrow. If we dig a trench from the well into the garden, we can get water flowing where it needs to go." The next morning, with shovels in hand and fueled by hope, they set out to tackle this new project together. Henry led the way, demonstrating how to start digging safely while Martha encouraged Samuel to take breaks when needed, pouring water over his hands when they became too hot. Watching them work side by side ignited something within Henry, a renewed sense of purpose as he saw how capable they were as a team. As they dug into the tough ground, sweat glistened on their brows under the scorching sun. They shared jokes and laughter between hard bouts of labor that filled the air around them like music. Every time they took a break, they would sit together beneath the shade of an old oak tree nearby, sipping water and discussing ideas for improving their crops. As days passed and their trench began to take shape, something remarkable occurred. Their bond deepened further through shared labor and mutual support. Evenings became filled with discussions about dreams for future harvests or plans for expanding their vegetable stand, all while providing comfort amidst the tension that had once threatened to pull them apart. Then came an unexpected storm that swept through their area one night. The rain poured down fiercely but revitalized not only their parched crops but also their spirits. Together they laughed joyfully as rain danced against the roof of their home while Martha brought out her famous apple pie for everyone to enjoy in celebration of overcoming adversity. "This pie should be our good luck charm," she declared playfully as Samuel took a huge bite, immediately grinning from ear to ear with delight. "Let's make more pies after this. We need something sweet when we do big things," Samuel suggested enthusiastically. In that moment of laughter shared around warm pies fresh out of the oven, Henry realized something profound. They had transformed what could have been isolating struggles into opportunities for connection and support instead. Each challenge faced united them further. They were no longer just trying to survive together but were actively building a life worth cherishing. As seasons changed, so did they. All three discovering resilience within each other sparked anew through teamwork forged by love threading itself throughout even moments of struggle endured together side by side, becoming testimony that hardships could be turned into stepping stones toward brighter days ahead when hearts worked as one towards common goals under sunshine breaking through clouds lingering overhead. With every obstacle conquered, each trial faced hand in hand, they moved forward stronger than before, learning not just how to endure but how beautiful it was when love carried them through uncertainty, transforming struggles into stories worth telling, now woven forevermore into their lives together upon this precious land, stitched lovingly into roots dug deep beneath each cherished moment spent united against whatever storms lie ahead. As the seasons continued to change, the once awkward dynamics among Henry, Martha, and Samuel evolved into a seamless tapestry of family life. The nurturing bond they had created through shared challenges now radiated warmth, filled with laughter and love that echoed across the farm. Their lives became intertwined, defined by joyful routines and unexpected moments of happiness that brought them closer together. One crisp autumn day, the air was filled with the scent of fallen leaves and ripe pumpkins. Inspired by their successful harvest, Martha proposed a family celebration to showcase their hard work. "Let's have a harvest festival," she exclaimed while stirring a pot of apple cider on the stove. "We can invite our neighbors and share what we've grown together." Samuel's excitement bubbled over as he jumped up from his seat at the table. "Can we have games? And apple pie contests?" His eyes sparkled with anticipation. "Of course," Henry chuckled, already swept up in the enthusiasm. "We can set up booths with vegetables for sale and make sure everyone has fun." In the days leading up to the festival, they worked side by side. Henry built makeshift booths while Martha baked pies infused with fragrant spices, and Samuel decorated everything with colorful streamers and hand-drawn signs. The atmosphere buzzed with laughter as they collaborated on every detail. No task felt burdensome when shared among loving hearts. On the day of the harvest festival, their farm transformed into a vibrant hub alive with energy and joy. Neighbors arrived, drawn in by the enticing smells wafting through the air and laughter echoing across fields. Children ran freely among tables piled high with fresh produce while adults mingled over steaming cups of cider. As the festivities unfolded, Henry took a moment to step back and observe his family, his heart swelled with pride at what they had accomplished together. Martha stood behind a table handing out slices of pie, her face aglow from laughter shared among friends. Samuel dashed past him clutching a game prize he had won, a small token that seemed to shine brighter than any trophy could. "Look at this, Papa!" Samuel shouted as he held up his prize, a shiny blue ribbon adorned with stars, before running back to join other children in a lively game of sack races. The unity cultivated through hardships turned into a joyous celebration of life itself, their transformation from strangers finding solace in each other to an inseparable family playing side by side became truly palpable in each moment spent together. Later in the evening, as twilight settled upon them like a cozy blanket, they gathered around a bonfire crackling under sparkling starlight. Everyone sat close together sharing stories and tasting fresh pies made lovingly by Martha, smiles painted across eager faces lit up against shadows flickering softly around them. In that beautiful embrace beneath twinkling stars, their hearts knitted together by laughter, something profound shifted between Henry and Martha, an understanding that transcended their pasts filled with grief or worry settled comfortably on gentle waves of hope creating roots woven deep within not only soil but also shared dreams swirling above like constellations connected brightly overhead. They were no longer merely individuals facing uncertainty but rather forged souls united in love, experiencing life's unexpected joys hand in hand together overcoming all obstacles previously faced now redefined anew through each cherished memory discovered along this journey travel towards tomorrow brimming lovingly ahead full of possibility, one where their dreams shone just as brightly as those stars framing their enduring bond amid boundless skies above. As they embraced this new family formed against life's ebb and flow, the joys tasted sweeter than ever before, a reminder that when hearts unite resiliently against any storm forged alongside kindness, the beautiful journey toward love awaits endlessly nourished from roots sprouting deeply into hope planted firmly within shared lives forever entwined under one roof filled abundantly with warmth inviting whatever adventures awaited them all joyfully embracing life anew. As the sun set on the farm, casting a golden hue over the fields, Henry found himself sitting on the porch steps, reflecting on the incredible journey that had unfolded since that fateful day at the auction. What had initially begun as a desperate desire for companionship had blossomed into a profound transformation, one that pulled him out of his loneliness and into a vibrant family life filled with love, laughter, and acceptance. Henry looked inward, recalling the emptiness he felt after losing his wife. The silence of the farmhouse had once echoed with his sorrow, but now it was infused with joy, thanks to Martha and Samuel. The way they navigated challenges together, their laughter mingling in the air during shared meals and their collective efforts to transform hard work into cherished memories, had forever altered his perspective on life. Martha's strength impressed him anew every day. She faced each obstacle with unwavering determination, whether it was struggling through her pregnancy or finding ways to adapt to farm life. The resilience she displayed inspired Henry to embrace challenges rather than shy away from them. He remembered how she encouraged him during the drought, insisting they could find a solution together. It was her steadfast optimism that kept hope alive during uncertain times. The bond between them had grown deeper than either had anticipated. They were no longer mere survivors of their individual hardships, they were partners united by shared dreams. Martha had taught him that vulnerability didn't signify weakness, but rather a pathway to deeper connections. He admired how she nurtured Samuel's spirit, encouraging his curiosity and creativity as they worked on projects around the farm. Their trio formed a dynamic that thrived on teamwork and mutual support. With Samuel, Henry found not only joy but also an unexpected mentor in innocence. The child's perspective brought light to everyday moments. They would stop to admire butterflies or dance in the rain together. Samuel reminded Henry how to embrace life with a sense of wonder, pulling him away from the shadows of grief. In his laughter, Henry rediscovered joy that had seemed irretrievable. Each day they spent together felt like a precious gift, a testament to the healing power of love and acceptance. Their lives intertwined beautifully as they created new traditions, such as baking pies for local gatherings or sharing stories under a starlit sky. Together, they celebrated wins both big and small, reminding each other that second chances could pave roads toward happiness anew. Henry often thought about how he had once been consumed by loneliness and despair, but this family helped him rewrite his narrative, forging ahead with hope where doubt once loomed large. Their experiences bonded them in an unbreakable way. Through turmoil and triumphs alike, they learned that overcoming obstacles was far easier when faced hand in hand. As evening settled softly around him, Henry marveled at how far they had come since that pivotal moment at the auction. It dawned on him that Martha and Samuel had not only changed his life, they had given it new meaning altogether. They transformed his heart into a sanctuary filled with love, reminding him that true family extends beyond blood ties. With a gentle breeze brushing against him like a loving embrace, he felt grateful for the chance to start anew, grateful for every laugh shared over homemade meals, and grateful for every opportunity to build a life defined by connection rather than isolation. Now united under one roof, they faced life's uncertainties together, finding solace in each other's arms as they embraced every new adventure, relishing the joy that comes with sealing their bond as a family for all time.